Hello friends, Tiger Coward here. It is a beautiful day at the center of the universe, so I think I'm going to get the tiger out. Join me. We are loaded and ready to go. It is election day, so the first thing I'm going to go do is vote. It's not far away, just down at the arena, and it gives me a chance to try out my new Moto vlogging setup with the microphone on. See if you can hear some engine sounds. Hello friends, Tiger Coward here. Today I'm going to try something completely different. I'm going to moto vlog. For some reason, the internet demands you talk while you ride, so I'm going to give it a shot. I'll also prove another point, that a 5-minute task can be made into a whole afternoon of fun if you have a motorcycle. I go out for my first ride on the Tiger, and I make it last all afternoon. Let's go. Okay, here we go. So it's a very strange election year in Canada because the election is actually dominated by the president south of the border. So I'm going down where most Canadians vote, to the arena, and then I'll take a little tour. Let's see how this works out. I'm doing about 70 kilometers an hour on a gravel road right now. Not sure how this will work, but let's give it a try. So what I did for this setup is I took an old pair of plug-in headphones for a cell phone, and I cut the earbuds off, and then I just put it in a little piece of foam to work as a wind muff, and we'll see how this works. The setting on the GoPro mod, I have it on standard mic plus. So I know some people say that adds all sorts of hum and buzz, but we'll see because it's noisy. So this is me 80 kilometers an hour on a dirt road with the windshield down. I'll put the windscreen up, and we should hear much better acoustics there. Anyhow, this is Grey County dirt roads heading to the arena. As you can see, the buds aren't out yet. But it's a beautiful sunny day, which is kind of surprising because on Saturday, this is Monday now, on Saturday, we had snow all day. But that is gone for now and for tomorrow. Although calling Friday might have snow again. So it's been a really cool spring. And I've been desperate to get the Tiger out. I did have a long ride up from Windsor, that's Windsor, Ontario. It's about 500 kilometers from Windsor to the center of the universe here. And I rode Rory's CB500X up from Windsor so that I could sell it. If you're interested, it's a 2013, excellent condition, just under 50,000 kilometers on the ticker. So for a Honda, that's nothing, especially over 12 years. And he's selling it not because he doesn't like it, he loves the bike. He's selling it because he has to pay for his final year of university. And no, it's an adult thing that we all end up doing. Well, not everybody. Some of you guys are lucky, but most of us end up doing that. traffic is busy. It's probably because of the election. All right, here we go. I won't be able to take the camera into the polling station, but I'll leave it on until I get off the bike here. I've got my voter card. All right. So there we go. I'll be back in a couple minutes. Okay, so that took me about 4 minutes to cast my ballot. There's no reason you shouldn't be out voting today. If you don't vote, I think you give up your right to complain about the government. I suspect with the way things are going in the world right now, that we'll see quite a heavy voter turnout. So while I'm here, I thought I'd take you for a quick tour through Feversham. Feversham is the closest metropolitan area to the center of the universe. And when I say metropolitan, I mean there's got to be probably 100 or 200 people live in the village. So let's just have a quick nip downtown. We'll take River Road out, and then we'll head into Collingwood to do some adult stuff. Oh, and when I say adult store, I mean Canadian Tire. There's the old schoolhouse, is now a house. And here we are right downtown. This is the old bank building, which is also now a house. There's short stores. The general store. It's been there for about 3,000 years. I think they carbon dated it, and it was one of the first known inhabitants of Grey County. In fact, look it up. You can see a lot of the devastation here from the ice storm. You'll see a lot of broken trees. There's one right there. Yesterday, Tiger Barb and I finished cutting up our broken branches on our property. So sad. In a couple weeks, there'll be tons of fishermen standing out there. So I get questions every now and then on what rider mode I use when I'm riding on a dirt road. And generally, I just leave it in standard road mode. I'm a little more careful with my throttle and my clutch, but other than that, it's just a road. If it's deep gravel or I'm going to be riding for hours on it, I will go into the off-road mode. And that just makes everything a little bit easier, stiffens up the suspension, and lowers the back end. But most importantly, it takes over feathering the clutch, and I find that actually to be just superb. Look at all these broken trees. What a shame. Judging by the hydro poles down this road, they didn't get it as bad as we did out at the center of the universe. Those are all old poles. Most of ours are nice, new, and green. And that means that they got broken. Oh man, here's a tree that took a beating, an old tree. Looks like I lost a big part of it. You just see all the branches down on the ground there. The best part about riding around here in the spring is all of the rivers. They're all filled up to their banks and flowing over. And oftentimes, just sitting here on the road, you can see the trout, but I don't see any fish in there today. One of the things that I've learned from watching Nick Adams and his videos is I got to slow down, just tool around and ride some back roads, stop and enjoy the peacefulness of central Ontario where we live. You never know where you're going to come across or what you're going to see. I don't even know the names of the streams and rivers that I come across. Oh, here's one. Just a nice little wetlands. Oh, it's a river. That's awesome. Look how clear that water is. Back in Feversham, where I went to vote, is one of the largest water bottling facilities in the province and probably in the country. And that's because the springs around here bubble up all over the place. And we live on a moraine, which is a big escarpment created by glaciers. And we have about 1,000 feet or 300 meters of limestone. And through the filtration of the ground, as those springs bubble up, you get some of the best tasting and purest water on the planet. So that's what we see there, and that's why that's what we see there, and that's why that river was so beautiful and clear. With all the farms around here, the runoff, especially this time of year, makes it that those aren't good to drink out of, no matter how clear they are. But it doesn't take much filtration to clean those up. This is the Osprey Blue Mountains town line. I'll take you along part of the route I take to get to work. Now I know I've said in other videos that I'm retired, and that I am, but during the winter season I work as a ski lift operator at one of the major resorts here in central Ontario. And so I'll show you that route I take. It's quite beautiful. It's much more beautiful now than it is in January when there's 12-foot snowbanks. Oh, that would have been a great idea. Maybe next year I'll do a January 1st, May 1st comparison video of driving down this road. Here we go, the last of the snowbanks. Coming up this road, especially at the top of this hill, there was massive drifts this year. And the bank cutters have been back through it, and the snowbanks were literally 3-4 meters high. That's like 3-4 yards. What's that, 12 feet? Something like that. All on our left side here, which is west, because the prevailing winds blow from Lake Huron across the escarpment and dump all their snow here and at my ski resort. I love this old abandoned farmhouse. And the one that you can see right over there with the brown drive shed and the barn, Barb and I actually looked at that before we bought our house at the center of the universe. But unfortunately, at the time, it didn't look as good as it does now. But at the time, it needed a lot of work, and I'm more handsome than I am handy. And what you see down there is actually not a river or a pond, it's just flooded fields. We had so much snow this year that the fields, the low-lying areas right now are all filled up. It must give the farmer some annoyance that the ditch is right here. Let me pull over here and show you. The ditches are dry, but their field is not. Oh, did you see that? That's kind of cool. There was a snowbank covered in some sawdust from all of these broken trees. And so it insulated it. That's how they used to insulate ice when they cut it off the bay. They bring it into big warehouses and cover it in sawdust as an insulator. But across central Ontario in mid-April, well, actually it was probably early April, we had a terrible ice storm. So we had freezing rain and then wind, and that broke tons of trees, tons of telephone poles. I don't know if you can see it. I'm going to slow down here. This is an older pole. You can see how it's brown. And this is a new pressure-treated pole that is green. The storm was terrible. In fact, in Ontario history, it's the storm that had the second largest impact on infrastructure in the province. Only the 1999 ice storm was worse. And at the center of the universe, we were without power for 9 days. So here we are at the top of the escarpment looking down. That is Georgian Bay in front of us. I don't know if you can see it. I'll try and zoom in to see if we can get the grain terminals down there at the port. But this area here at the top of Blue Mountain was one of the heaviest hit. And all of these poles are new. And around here, this road was closed for almost 2 weeks. See, some of the trees haven't been taken or haven't been cut up yet. You see the telephone wire, you probably can't see that, but the telephone wire isn't fully reinstalled. But every tree was a problem. And believe it or not, there was still enough snow for there to be skiing. But with the number of trees that were down at the ski resort, they fell onto the ski lifts. So they had to go and cut those all down and do the safety checks that are required. Oh, goodness, look up there. There is a Canadian Armed Forces search and rescue plane. They're flying grids over southern Georgian Bay right now in training. So they're going from here all the way across the bay to Parry Sound. Oh, look at, here's a tough guy here coming up the mountain. You're almost there, buddy. Keep going. I'm not sure if you can see that. I hope you can. But there's this yellow search and rescue plane flying very slowly, and rightfully so. This is pretty steep down here. Uh-oh, somebody in a vintage car has stopped. Oh, what a shame. Anyway, if you're around here, this is Grey Road 119, also known as Scenic Caves Road. It's a nice little curvy road up the hill. Much more fun to come down when there's not snow on it than when it's covered in snow and ice. Look at the number of trees that are down. Holy smokes. You see, they just cut them off at the road. They haven't even cleaned them up yet. They just got them cut so that the roads are clear. It'll be months before they get to all those trees and the ditches. Look at those. Almost every single one of these hydro poles is new. And there's still a little bit of snow out there on the hills. And there it is. That's my favorite lift right there. that is the Orchard lift. Orchard Express. 6-pack detachable ski lift. Collingwood, that's only about 17,000 people, has the infrastructure to support hundreds of thousands of more people. Now, most of those people only come up on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. So Sunday night to Thursday night is pretty awesome living here because we have bigger stores, bigger movie theaters. We've got everything a bigger town would have. And they're virtually empty on during the weekday, and especially at the shoulder season. So right now in the spring, and also again in the fall before it snows. And I tell you this because that's why we have such an awesome Canadian Tire. And undoubtedly it is my favorite adult novelty store, although it also gives all the necessities that you need. So if you're not from here and don't know what I'm talking about, then when you do travel through Canada, make sure you stop at Canadian Tire. Right here on your right, just past the gas station, is Steel and Ink Tattoo and Piercing. And that is where I get most of my tattoos done. Great place. Might want to stop in there. I highly recommend Chris. He is a fantastic artist and all-around good guy. We're almost to the historic Main Street, much nicer. But I'm going to go by there and ride down through the Harbourlands. Unfortunately, the Harbourlands are being developed in a way that it's all private. I suspect that's just the way things are these days. But Collingwood was a shipbuilding town, and I'll put a link into a video about the history of Collingwood and shipbuilding. It's pretty cool. But these were all shipyards all along here, and they were all polluted like crazy. Holy crap, did you see that? Oh, it's full of old people around here too. So anyway, this was all shipyard. So they're building condos and stuff all around it now. It's been left empty since 1986. And Collingwood Harbour was one of the 7 places of pollution, or 7 hotspots of pollution on the Great Lakes, and the only one that's come off the list. And the main reason it came off the list is just because they stopped building ships here, and so all the pollutants that were dumped into the harbor have all washed downstream. So they've gone out into Lake Huron and down towards Sarnia. So it's good for us around here, but some of these areas are still too polluted to build on, and but the harbor itself now has all of these condo buildings, and they're beautiful. You can still walk around the front of them, but they didn't create any parkland or anything on that side. And so here's the Port of Collingwood. And you'll see the Collingwood Terminals Limited, the grain terminals here. Now, this used to be a major shipping port. The wheat would come across to Thunder Bay, be put on a ship, and sailed down here so they could go to market in Toronto. And they haven't done that for a really long time. So these have been sitting derelict. Much debate in town on what should happen with these. The cost to take them down, they are so huge, and there's so much concrete in there that it's just super expensive to take them down. And so they're they're set up here. There's been a couple different proposals for building condos up on top of them, even a nightclub, which I thought would be very cool to have a restaurant and nightclub up there, but none of it has come to fruition. There's always someone who complains about it, or there's always someone who thinks they can make money but has a poor business plan. So, but here is Millennium Park. So they created a park right at the end here of on the old docks. It's kind of awesome. They got fencing along that side, but that's just for the winter. They'll be taking that down. And you can come park at the end. There's a plaque up here that tells you that this was the departure point for the Northwest Mounted Police, which became the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. But when the West was being expanded, they left from here on a ship. Way up there you can see those are the ski hills, and they still got a little bit of snow on them. In the harbor, I'm going to go down a little closer to the water. It's kind of awesome because you can go swimming in the harbor now. It's cleaned up so much. And if you come down here in the summer, people will be diving off the edge of the pier here. And the water level's up pretty high right now, but when the water level was lower, it was a lot of fun. You're jumping 7 or 8 feet down into the water. So this is the Collingwood Harbour, and over there is the amphitheater. You can see it. I'll try and zoom in on it on the hill. Now, this is your traditional Ontario downtown. Great big wide streets. Brown brick buildings. There's a federal government building. If you're coming sailing into the port, you have to come here for your customs. Collingwood is quite a nice little town and hasn't had the urban rot that lots of towns have when big box stores move to the edge of town. Collingwood still managed to keep its charm. This on the left here is Town Hall or City Hall, and built behind that is the arena. So if you're coming to play hockey, you're coming right downtown Collingwood. The arena is kind of famous. It's called the Eddie Bush Arena. Hey, there's a three-wheeler. I'll wave anyway. And the Eddie Bush Arena is famous. It's historically famous because of some of the great players that came from here. But most well known for the fact that in 1976, the Canada Cup hockey team, Team Canada, no, she's not coming. The 1976 Team Canada hockey team held their training camp here at the Eddie Bush Arena. Now, this road's fairly popular with motorcyclists and certainly with cyclists. You wouldn't want to ride here on a Saturday because the big cycling groups are here. There'll be literally thousands of guys on bicycles riding up here. It's nice and quiet. And there's lots of hiking trails, especially to our right. But it used to be getting all jammed up here with cars parked all along here. And of course, they park on both sides so people couldn't get through. So there's a new bylaw, and there's no parking on this road at all anymore. So it's way better now. Now, there's a parking lot not too far from here, and if you're going for a hike, you should just park in the parking lot and walk to the base of the trail. But people don't want to do that. And up here right now, you'll see all these no parking signs. That's the reason. This was the worst part. People will park here and you couldn't see your way around all the twisties. Nonetheless, the park is quite nice. And on your right-hand side, there's all sorts of great walking trails up there, and there's a trail that's called Lake at the Top of the Hill, which is a very cute pond up there, and I like snowshoeing up there. Let's run for a little bit here, see what the footage looks like. This road isn't asphalt, or asphalt, as I guess it's supposed to be called. It is what we call tar and pebble. It's what they do is they spread down a thick tar-like substance, and then they put limestone shavings over the top of it. And they put it in quite deep. Sometimes it's like 15, 20 centimeters or 3 or 4 inches deep. And it's next to impossible to ride your bike on, and you don't want to do it when they first treated it because it's got all the tar on it. It just sticks all over everything. It's awful. But I'm telling you this because there was a day when it was being repaired. It was 2019, and I was coming home from Collingwood, and they tarred and pebbled a large section of the road up here. It wasn't marked, and I came around the corner and I came into 20 centimeters of loose shavings, and that was on my blue 2007 Tiger, and I low-sided it. I hit that stuff on the lean, and it just lost the front end and went down. And unfortunately, because I broke my saddlebags, it pretty well totaled the bike because it had 80,000 kilometers on. Nobody wants a 12-year-old bike with 80,000 kilometers on it. But worse than that was I dislocated my shoulder, and the way I fell, my shoulder dislocated and broke a couple ribs, and it was pushing into my ribs. And I broke the top of the humerus, had a fracture in it. So that was a terrible, terrible injury to have on a slow speed 30 or 40 kilometer an hour crash. And but when we're getting old, we don't bounce as well as we used to. So right up here, they've now actually taken the tar and pebble out and actually put asphalt down right where I had the accident. So it'll never be an issue for anyone else, but for me, it took me forever to get over it. So right here, you can see the change in the pavement. This is where you come through a nice little chicane here. You lean right, then you lean left. And that's where right there at that seam was where the tar and pebble was, and I went down. It took me forever to get over it. Part of it was because the pandemic came along right when I was to be doing physiotherapy, and so everything was closed down. I didn't do physio. And, well, you know the story. The rest is history. This nice little curvy road. I enjoy coming home from town this way. It's my preference always. Up in the corner up here, there is the Osprey Township Museum. And this corner, I guess, used to be something because it has its own name. It was the village of Rob Roy. But the only thing left is a couple houses and a museum. So I'll show you that, and I'm going to shut it off until I go to some back road riding. Like I say, if you come up here on a weekend in the spring, summer, and fall, there will be hundreds and hundreds of cyclists. All right, I'm almost home. And I just proved in my first ever Moto vlog that buying a motorcycle can take a 4-minute task of going to vote into a 2-hour journey of pleasure. Anyhow, my last bit here is to ride down this back road that's not maintained in the winter and see how the audio sounds. Bit of a risk coming down here, but it looks fantastic considering it hasn't been graded since the fall. We'll see what happens down by the stream. Now, I did put it into off-road mode just because I don't know what I'm going to see at the bottom of the hill over here. But it looks like the road is actually being improved. I'm doing 60 kilometers an hour in here. There's times where I've had trouble paddling the bike down this road, so it's pretty good. I didn't need to do anything. Look how great the condition of the road is. I got a couple ruts, like one right down there. River is flowing. A piece of cake. Right now I'm still running the Dunlop Trail Max Mission tires that I put on for the Trans Taiga, and yeah, they're fantastic. They're so good on these dirt roads. Now they're loud. Part of the thing I want to see when I take this off and listen to the video is to see if we're picking up engine noise. I know my biggest fan, Eric from Brewster's Lake. Eric wanted to hear some engine noise, but my engine is quieter than the tires, I think. So we'll have to have a look at that. Here we are back at the center of the universe. Barb's not home, so I'll pretend that I'm off-roading and I'm going to ride through the ditch and across the front yard. Off-roading on the Tiger. Lucky enough she doesn't watch my videos, so she'll never see that. Back home. Bye, guys.
Well, there you have it, folks. My first rambling moto vlog. You're still here, and I'm not really sure why. So why don't you leave me a comment down below and tell me what you liked? Give me some suggestion for improvements, too. This is my first time doing this format. Anyway, thanks again for tuning in. Have a look at some of my other videos. They're pretty good.
Go forth with an open mind, and most importantly, an open heart. And remember, self-care is not selfish.